Hey folks, my name's Noah Lynch, and you're listening to the Slawcast.
Down in Arkansas, they serve you coleslaw, chopped up finer than a bale of straw. When you crunch and gnaw, a bunch of coleslaw keeps you chewing.
Hey folks, it's your host Noah Lynch. I'm the two-time Pulitzer Prize winner in the category Side Dish Nonfiction, four-time Coleslaw Reviewer of the Year by Time Magazine, 30 Under 30 Coleslaw Media Luminary, and the host of the number one coleslaw advice podcast on the internet. You know, at the top of the show, I kind of wanted to extend my thank you to everyone who's been leaving all these positive messages, you know, on Facebook, Patreon, the subreddit, whatever it may be. You know, I know y'all don't think I see them, but I do. I did a scary thing last episode, and I kind of, you know, some would say exposed the underbelly of my backstory. That's a coleslaw joke, folks. And I opened myself up, and I expected to be completely slaughtered by the media, and I wasn't, and it's all because of y'all. Because, you know, in the coleslaw industry, you often find that there's no real communities to be made. Everyone's kind of going at each other's throats constantly, and we've kind of bridged that gap and created a family, and that's one beautiful thing for sure. You know, especially in lieu of all the copycat imposter Slawcast that have been starting up.
My name is Jose, and you're live with the Slaw Show. You're listening to the Coleslaw Hour. My name's Bill. This is my brother Tom, and you're listening to the Coleslaw Morning Hour. Coleslaw Customer Stories. Mama's Coleslaw Convo. You want a nice, crisp, leafy cabbage. I would say stick to the creamy slaws. Make sure you always remember to check that underbelly.
And, you know, quite honestly, you know, all these podcasts have missed the mark. You know, the magic of the Slawcast is not the coleslaw as much as coleslaw is a magical thing. You know, you got your coleslaw, and then you got me, and then nestled betwixt them is the community, and that's the real key. That's the real magic, and that's why I'll give all the props to y'all out there in the coleslaw world, listening and giving feedback and hanging out with me while I do this show. You know, you can name any network in the business, ABC, NBC, CBS, TLC. They've all offered me something to buy the show, and, you know, if I were to sell out, you know, this show would be nothing special. This would just be like every other failed experiment and sellout show in the coleslaw industry thus far, and that's not what we're about. We're about making changes and changing the industry for the better, you know. So I just want y'all to know that I appreciate you, and I want to go ahead and get into the question real quick. So, all right, we got a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Corey Underwood from Miami, Florida. I was just wondering if you knew what the best slaw would be for a first date.
You know, Corey, first and foremost, I want to thank you for asking your question. Now, you know, I think you're already on the right foot considering coleslaw for the first date. I think most guys don't quite understand that, but it shows a level of social understanding and intelligence. You know, you're ahead of the game in that respect. Now, funny story, my ex-wife, my now ex-wife, when I first met her, we were high school sweethearts. Our first date, I tried to pull the classic, you know, go to the barbecue restaurant and order the coleslaw and, you know, try and show my expertise and my knowledge in the area. However, we sat down, and almost immediately the waiter told us they were out of slaw for the night. And, you know, it kind of was sort of a bad omen for the relationship. And it's a shame that our 7 children have to grow up in a divided home. But don't get me wrong here, Corey. I'm not trying to scare you away from coleslaw on the first date. In fact, cabbage is a well-known aphrodisiac, and I think it's a good idea to go with it. Now, here's what I will say is, you know, I go with a red cabbage slaw. You know, I think that kind of shows more love and emotion. I go with a red cabbage slaw, and I go with your classic creamy slaw. And like I said, I go to a barbecue joint, and I call ahead. Like I've told before, it's always a good idea to call ahead and make sure the slaw's on tap. Now, you didn't specify if you're taking out a lucky lady or a lucky gentleman. However, what I will tell you is the more coleslaw knowledge you present during the date, the more impressive you look. Now, so I'm going to give you a couple little tricks you can do to kind of spice up the evening and kind of look like you're doing and know a little more than you really do. So first thing I'm going to tell you, Corey, is when you sit down and the waiter asks, what can I get for you? Ask him or her if their cabbage comes from China, India, or Russia. Those are the three main countries that export cabbage in today's world, and that'll show that not only do you appreciate a good coleslaw, but also you want a little more information. You're digging deeper, trying to find clues as to where this slaw came from, and that's going to be impressive to your date, to the waiter, to the people at the table next door. It's going to be impressive to everyone in the room because you're showing that you have knowledge about coleslaw, but you also have knowledge about cabbage itself, and I think that's really an amazing thing. And in the future, maybe even when you're not on a date, start paying attention to that kind of thing. I prefer a nice Indian cabbage in my coleslaw, but I know people that prefer the Russian stuff or the Chinese stuff. It really is all down to preference, and we're not worried about that in this case. We're just worried about showing that we can go the extra mile for your date, if you know what I mean. And Corey, the second thing I will tell you is as soon as that slaw hits the table. Now, Corey, when I say as soon as it hits the table, I do mean as soon as it hits the table. I want you to grab that bowl of slaw from your date, say, hold on, I got this. I want you to take your right or left index finger, it depends on your dominant hand. I can't know that right now. But for me, it's my right hand. So you take your right index finger and I want you to swipe your finger straight across the top of the slaw. Now you're kind of scraping across all the way through. Bring it up to your face and what do you see? Okay. Now there's three different possibilities here and I'll give you scenarios for each one. So if you see absolutely nothing on your finger, you're dealing with a dry, poorly prepared slaw, and I would send it back almost immediately. And in this case, tell your date, hey, I'm protecting you from a bad experience, okay? Now, option number 2 is you see a fully covered finger. It looks like you done dipped your finger in a jar of mayonnaise. Okay, that's just as bad. You send that sucker right back to the chef, too. You tell him, hey, next time you make it right, buddy. Okay? Now, don't be rude about it, but be firm, okay? That's what I want you to do, Corey. Be very firm. Now, the third option, and this is the one you're looking for. You wipe through with your dominant index finger. You look up and you see partial coverage. We're talking 65 to 75% coverage on that finger, and you got just about perfect moisture. Now, you still got to go through your steps. You still got to measure your cabbage shreds. You still got to measure the underbelly and look at the underbelly. However, this is a quick way to check. You got 65 to 75%. You can go up to 80. You can go down to 60. It's not a concrete rule. But if you see that you got your hands on a good slaw, I'll say that much right now, and you can say, okay, this is ready to eat, and enjoy your meal with your date and enjoy your date in your evening. And you know what, Corey, I think that's kind of the answer I'm going to give you is it's not necessarily even about the slaw. It's about looking like you know more than you do about the slaw. It's about looking impressive. You know what I mean? So, Corey from Florida, I really thank you for asking that question. Everyone for listening, I thank you for listening. It's been a crazy 4 episodes. My name's Noah. That was the Slawcast. Until next time, I'll slaw you later.
No bread, no meat, no potatoes, and nothing that's sweet. All I want is a lot of coleslaw.